another video. One request I've gotten so many times on the channel is to make a video showing off my Wings of Fire OCs. With Art Fight literally starting next week at the time of me posting this video, what better time to tell you all about the dragon characters I've made for WoF? So, join me as I give you some very exciting information about my original ideas based in these continents we love. But before we begin, a huge shout out to my patrons. 95, The Soul Noob, Topar, Nuke, Evro, Pangig, Escarada, Adequate, Isaac Cleaver, Moonclaw, Isaac, Mike 9, Pantala Resident, Horizon the Furwing, Crystal, Phantom the Dragon, TurtleTheSeawing, Wolfyez, Misty, Newt Spring, and Horizon the Furwing. Thank you all so much for supporting me. Links to our social medias are in the description down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. Beginning with a non-Wings of Fire OC real quick, just to tell you guys about Mala. She's my persona and channel mascot. And contrary to initial popular belief for many, she's a red fox. Foxes are my favorite animals in the whole world. Mala is less of an OC and more of just me. I love her so much. Okay, it's time to show off some of my WoF dragons. Starting with Moontide. She's a Knightsy hybrid designed by my friend in Newt Spring. She thought this is what I would look like if I was living on Pyria, which is so cool. I did give her a little bit of a story. Moontide is the sole guardian of a beach occupied by hybrids. She spends every night looking up at the moons and drawing from their power. Born beneath two full ones and against lapping shores, this dragon possesses the unique hybrid ability of having an influence on the tides. The water seems to listen to her suggestions, especially when it comes to protecting all who seek asylum on the shore. So, with enough emotion and reason, Moontide can control the very sea level in force. Next up I'll show you guys is 𝙈𝙤𝙬𝙁, also designed by Newt Spring. Though they aren't actually based off of WoF, I think if they were a dragon type in the books, they'd probably be a night ice something, with a hint of ancestry you can't quite place. 𝙈𝙤𝙬𝙁 is a wild, curious, and quite chaotic guide of witches. They're so old, they don't even remember where they came from or how long they've been living. But for the right dragon, you might just be able to unearth the secrets of the universe with them. 𝙈𝙤𝙬𝙁 is entranced by death and finds it fun. Now, meet Kara! This is a reimagining of Supergirl from the new movie, which is out by the time I'm posting this, and I will have seen it already after recording. So exciting. She's a wildwing with ancestry in the Mudwing, Sandwing, Skywing, and Rainwing tribes, along with distant others. Just like in the film and comic, Kara has a partying spirit and deeply protective heart. She soars through the galaxy, trying to define both purpose and the love she needs to give to herself. She can fly higher than any other dragon in the world. Say hello to Solstice, my Sky Ice hybrid. His parents eloped right before his hatching, knowing both their kingdoms would forbid such a pairing or dragonet. However, Solstice would not know them for long, before ultimately ending up kidnapped by a radical group known as the Silver Scales. He was to be their brainwashed weapon in hiding, but everything goofy and authentic about Solstice didn't really scream our secret nuke like they wanted. Still, this dragon is able to exhale a suffocating smoke from both his mouth and scales, as well as emit dangerously sub-zero frost breath. When the Silver Scales' attempt to rip Pyria apart from the inside puts everything he now loves at stake, Solstice has to stop the dragons who raised him, while also finding out just how much he was lied to. Next up is Durian, a Rainwing. He paints the problems of Pyria in an attempt to both raise awareness about various issues across the continents and show what life is like for him. He suffers from GAD, or general anxiety disorder, and finds most of his comfort from what he's able to create, and the dragon he'll soon meet. Durian's favorite spot in the rainforest is between the thick branches of the Great Banyan Tree, which is where he spends most of his days watching rather than participating. As is typical in Rainwing society, Durian doesn't know who his family is. Before meeting Oxtail, he was lonely and spent the majority of his time in isolation, not really feeling like he belonged. His anxiety failed to make him match the rest of the tribe's free-floating nature. Durian's lore and later story is directly tied into Oxtail's, my Mud-Sand hybrid. Oxtail grew up on the edges of the Mud Kingdom with his brother, Taurus, and their sanding father, Gypsum. Oxtail's mother, Duckweed, was one of the kindest and most beautiful dragons to ever exist on the continents. Not a soul has ever been sweeter, more loving, and more forgiving. She fell in love with Gypsum, despite how he was allied with Blister, like the rest of his strict and wealthy family. The romance was strictly forbidden, forcing the two to leave everything behind to escape the sides of the war. Gypsum left his money and high-ranking blood. Duckwing was an unsib, being the last surviving member of her troop after they tried protesting the war while on the battlefield, and getting wiped out as a result. Her desire to protect and love never went away, seeing as she was the troop's bigwigs. Duckweed gave birth to Taurus, and then Oxtail soon after. Gypsum tried against everything within himself to be better than his parents were, but their peace together as a family, unfortunately, did not last long. Blister immediately found out about Gypsum's betrayal and grew furious to lose someone so elite. So, one day, Duckweed simply disappeared from their home in the far-out marshes. There were only two things left behind: her golden nose ring and a single horn, broken off by force and still bloody at the end. Gypsum assumed Blister had killed her as punishment for what he had done. This suddenly split the family apart, causing the boys' father to spiral as a young Taurus had to raise Oxtail, who had few memories of his mother. Oxtail chose to keep her nose ring, and Taurus, in a more darker fashion, clipped her broken horn onto a necklace he wore tightly around his throat. Each served as a different reminder of the one they had lost. Years later, as the war nearly reached its close, Gypsum vanished as well, but with no calling card. Taurus figured Blister had come for him too, and had to take care of his brother in full isolation now. Their once strong bond deteriorated by the day, with Taurus overwhelmed and bitter. When Blister died, his desire for vengeance only grew. Oxtail argued that Taurus was chasing a ghost, and that there was no one dragon left to blame for their parents' deaths now. Blister had received her fate. But Taurus thought everyone once under Blister had no right to be free, as any of them could and would have carried out the orders. One day, Taurus tried to leave to hunt down his own paternal family. The brothers fought over the eldest choice until the altercation turned nearly lethal. Taurus almost killed Oxtail right there in the hut they grew up in, until seemingly the shame or guilt was too much. At nearly stabbing him with his mother's own horn, he finally realized he had gone too far. Taurus left his sibling there, writhing in the dust and mud, barely breathing. Oxtail managed to slowly crawl for hours to the only other mudwing village nearby, where they were horrified at the extent of his wounds. Knowing the dragon needed emergency care, they rushed him to the best healers in the rainforest. Durian heard of a mysterious hybrid in critical condition, and rushed to see him with the rest of the tribe, feeling strangely drawn to that hut. As time went on, the Rainwings soon lost interest in their visitor, who showed no signs of waking. But Durian didn't want Oxtail to feel alone, so he spent many nights sleeping on the floor of the healer's hut or keeping watch in the branches of his home tree in the spot where he could see the mud sand through a small window. He hoped that when, not if, the hybrid woke up, he could stop even just one dragon from thinking he didn't belong. The two ultimately formed one of the greatest, most intimate bonds when Oxtail did awaken. Durian felt like Oxtail was someone he could actually protect for once, instead of just himself. And together, the Mud Sand hybrid got his first ever chance to be living rather than just surviving. There's much more to tell from this story, like what happened to both Gypsum and Taurus. If you guys ever want me to write about these two, let me know. Now's the time to show a Pathfinder. He's a Nightwing with Icewing ancestry from one grandparent. Though it weakens the strength of his fire, it does give him a higher immunity to the cold. Pathfinder was a bounty hunter on the volcano who took odd jobs and dirty work through the tunnels that nobody else could be bothered to take care of. Frustrated by his life and the miserable conditions of the place he had to return to most nights, Pathfinder is often bitter, aggressive, and argumentative. On a venture to the wall of the Ice Kingdom to kill a target, he ultimately meets an Arctic wolf. Confident, rambunctious, and a total opposite of him in every way, Pathfinder is initially annoyed by the one he names Rat, but soon comes to care for him more than he has any other dragon, or even himself. Rat follows him everywhere, even when he has to be kept a secret. Pathfinder has blackout teardrop scales. Unbeknownst to him for most of his life, they signify that he would have been born with powers had he hatched under the full, unclouded light of the moons. Pathfinder later wonders how life might have been different if he really was the mind reader he was supposed to be. Here's a Barrel Eye next. He's a Leaf Knight Sea tribrid. They're a slightly dark and stiff, but deeply kind dragon. You wouldn't be able to tell their age by looking at them. They're mysterious and guarded, but not in a nefarious way or one that makes those close to them feel uneasy. They have a good heart, though often keep to thoughts over speech. When he talks, it's mystifyingly wise and important. Everyone listens. No one really knows where they came from, yet they're welcome anywhere. There's something about them that just feels different, like you're inclined to enjoy just their presence and sit with it. Them being near you is comforting, but the longer they're by your side, the more you think about the deepest parts of life. Maybe they're an animus, or perhaps cursed by one. No one knows, and they surely will never tell, if they're even aware of this fact at all. Their father was a Seawing, and their mother was a Night Leaf. 𝙈𝙤𝙍𝙁 said in passing that his father wrote great poems amidst the ocean's endless and faraway chasms. Their mother's heart lied in the darkest canopies of the jungle, searching for something she could never find. How they met may never be known to another soul. Meet Darkseeker, the angsty Nightwing teen. Darkseeker is a student at Pyria's newest academy. He and his parents hold a secret that will change the course of the continents forever. They are the leaders of the Silver Scales, a radical underground movement their two pockets benefit from more than anything. Will the ever-irritated and selfish Darkseeker soar on that same path forever? Or is there a brighter future out there for him if he leaves the stability of his parents' corrupting wingtips? With a shove of help from his clawmates and a reluctantly faced journey ahead, Darkseeker must make a choice like no other. Mirage the Sandwing started his story as a brutal, unforgiving, and stuck-in-his-ways Sandwing general. Trying to continue his family's legacy of loyalty to the throne, he one day made a grave mistake. After attacking two Seawing diplomats who Mirage thought were invaders, Thorn was forced to exile him far away to prevent war with the Seawings. On the journey to his new home, however, Mirage ends up with his heart softened by a rainbow named Magnolia, who claims to have been sent as his guide. On the trip, Mirage has to face the dangerous results of his past, such as Harper, the older brother of the prince he nearly killed. Eventually, he comes to realize that differences aren't so wrong after all, and devotes his life to proving it. From the day his very first brother hatched, Harper the Seawing realized he was the only dragon who cared enough to keep his family safe. Being the oldest of 30 princes wasn't easy, but Harper did anything to make sure they were safe. If his mother didn't care about them, then he would. When one of Harper's brothers was sent on a diplomatic mission and perceived as a threat by Mirage, a guard for Thorn, he was nearly fatally wounded. Harper set out for revenge, thinking the punishment Mirage was given did not go far enough. It was up to him to ensure the dragon who haunted his brother would pay the ultimate price. Harper despises his mother and late father, believing them to have considered his life not worth their time. You might recognize Seal, Finch, and Shrub from my latest What If story. What if the prophecy called for an Icewing? Go check out that tale and my upcoming voice-acted version for more info on these dragons. Seal is an icy hybrid, Shrub is a Sandwing, and Finch is a Skywing. Foxfire is also a Skywing. She is the patient, understanding, and trustworthy librarian at the first ever shared Pyria Pantalan library. Her nature is slightly nervous, but she'll always relate what's happening to a scroll. Foxfire was born around the end of the War of Sandwing Succession. Her mother fled from the Sky Kingdom and her Scarlet loyal mate in an attempt to keep Foxfire away from the war. Wolfyez ultimately raised her on the ruins of the lost City of Night until the end of the fighting. While there, Foxfire found many ancient and buried secrets. It spawned her love of scrolls. Seaweed is slippery and calculated with deep-rooted cockiness. He thinks he's better than everyone else because of what he's been through, and now bitterly skulks through the Kingdom of the Sea. He originally held a high position of advisor for the Queen, but lost it all due to his own resentment. He's a Sea Rain hybrid. Frostfire is the Sky Night Queen of a subgroup of hybrids. She rules over them tyrannically, struggling with impulsion and unkempt fury. She hates the way she looks and feels because of her condition, battling fire and ice at the cellular level. She uses the powers that come with it to maintain control and prevent herself from ever feeling wrong. Dysphania is an ice silk hybrid who adores adventure no matter the kingdom. She's deeply loyal to the tundra, though, and is one of the most extroverted and curious dragons on the continents. She wants her life to be something turned into storybooks. Dysphania can produce icy silk from her wrists at any frozen temperature. And lastly, but most certainly not least, say hi to Bahada the Sandwing. She doesn't see authority, instead treating every dragon initially the same, like an old friend. She offers the best advice when others open up to her. An average street artist, this Sandwing is an expert in all things in danger. She breeds her own dragonflame cacti to explode paint and other surprises, creating parts of her iconic style. Be yourself around her, and you'll never feel better. Now, this is only the tip of the iceberg. I have so many other Wings of Fire OCs. So, if you ever want me to show off even more someday, be sure to let me know. And go check out my art fight linked in the description to learn more about each of these dragons, as well as all my other characters that span so many species. Team Mystery for the win! And just to let you guys know, I comment on every attack sent my way. What's your tip for this video? What did you think about all this? Which OC seems the most interesting to you, and who would you want to read a story about next? Let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.